All right, guys, welcome to our combined team call, Team Free to Be and Diesel Dreamers. We're excited to have you guys on. It's the first call of November. This is it, like 2 months, and we're done with the year. So I'm happy you guys are on here, spending the night with us. We have a really cool topic, and we want to make this a very interactive call. So if you guys listened to the National Wake Up Call a couple weeks ago, I think her name was Ashley Laughlin, something like that. She talked about a struggle web. And Jenna and I, we have our mastermind calls every week, and we're talking, okay, like what do we need? What does our team need? How can we help them? And this topic came up because that National Wake Up Call was amazing. So if you haven't watched it, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. It's on the podcast. But it was like spot on. So a lot of times, like we get in our own heads and we're like, oh, we don't have a story to share. We have nothing to talk about on social media. Or maybe we think like we're boring, which I think I'm kind of boring. Or whatever it might be, like you feel like you don't have anything to connect with certain like life experiences or whatever's going on now. Well, we kind of have to like take a little visit back in the past and go back to our day one, right? So why did you start this journey? How did you even come to start this journey? Maybe it was something you struggled with for years and tried other things. Maybe it's something throughout your childhood that you we're working through, and finding this awesome community has helped you in some way. But the whole purpose of this struggle web is to kind of turn your past pain points into your purpose, right? Because we all have stories to share, not just like one main theme, but we have tons of things we could talk about and connect with people. And it doesn't always have to be something like negative or like some traumatizing life event, but just little things that make you, that kind of shape you into who you are. Maybe some funny things that you've gone through, happy moments that you've gone through. These are all ways you can connect with other people. So we're gonna kind of work together on writing out our topics and little things that we can talk about. And then, like I said, we want this to be interactive. I want to help you guys with social media posts that you can kind of branch off, and other topics and themes that you can talk about with these like main themes. So Jenna, do you want to add anything to that?
That was a really good recap. I guess I would just add, don't discount any struggles that you're having right now too, as a coach or even in your health and wellness journey, because I think sometimes we forget as coaches, it's okay to not be perfect. And in fact, when we're not perfect and when we're sharing our struggles in the moment and in the journey, people connect with us a lot more than if we're like, I work out every single day and I have no issues and I don't struggle at all when it comes to workout. I wake up every day, I spring out of bed, and I'm ready to go. That's not the case for everyone. So it's important to be honest with yourself when you're going through and writing down some topics on this web. And this whole exercise is really to help you guys get a little bit more emotional with what you're sharing on social media. Just sharing Shakeology selfies and workout selfies isn't enough nowadays to grow our business forward. There's so much different stuff going on social media. So many people trying to get people to try their products. So we have to stand out by touching someone emotionally with our story and making them think like, oh my gosh, everything that girl just said or that guy just said, I can relate to so much. And those are the people who, when you bring into your tribe and your community, are going to run alongside you because they get you, and you guys are going to click so much more. And it's just going to help to create this community that, thrives off of each other's energy, because you're taking that time to really dig deep and share the stuff that's not easy to share. So right now we're going to give you guys some time to fill out the web. Just, think, like Paulina said, in the past, in the present, get deep. If you struggle with your weight, well, why do you struggle with your weight? So just try to peel back the layers a little bit. And then we're going to open it up and share some of the topics that came up, and again, sort of like help you translate that into a social media post. So I'm going to stop talking so you guys can brainstorm, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what Jenna said, and just like a little moment of enlightenment, if you think about the difference between all the coaches in the whole entire network versus the ones that really stand out to you, that are top coaches who are super successful in this business, I can promise you that you probably know what their stories are, right? Like I can say Melanie Mitchell, and you kind of know what her story is. I can say Bonnie Engel, Christina Delgado, Liz Harkey. We all know what their stories are, how they got started in this business, right? So we shouldn't be afraid to share our stories and share them over and over and over, and just finding, creative ways of sharing that same common theme through our social media posts, through our live videos, in our challenge groups, in our private conversations, because that's what people are going to remember us by, right? If we only post it on Facebook once and then never talk about it again for another 6 months, well, then how do you expect people to like turn to you for help or like can relate to you on that topic if they've never seen it, Or maybe they saw it once and then they forgot about it, and you're not continually talking about these common themes. So all these little, circles should be key topics and areas that you can connect with people. And then from there, like I said, branching off and maybe thinking of a couple of posts that you can create through those stories that you can share in different ways, that you can, kind of breadcrumb and develop along the way and develop throughout your journey too, because this isn't just, talking about the past. It's about, where you're at, where you were, where you're at, and where you're going, right? So sharing that vision, like maybe it's something that you dealt with that you're still struggling with. How are you going to overcome that? What are ways that you can look to, your team and your community for support and help and maybe accountability? For example, I don't love to work out. It's hard for me to stay committed to workout program, even though I'm in this 5 years and I know how beneficial it is when I stay on track and I stay on point with, fitness and nutrition. But I prefer to eat healthy than to have to work out, and I'm sure there's people out there that feel the same way as me, but if I'm not sharing that enough, then people aren't going to know that. So I need to get better at sharing that story and getting vulnerable, because I know sometimes like we're scared to share those things because we're like, oh my God, that person's going to judge me, or what is my family going to think, or are these people going to think I'm like a hypocrite, or I'm a phony, or whatever it may be. But when you get, vulnerable and you share from your heart and you're genuine about your message and, that point of connection that you want to create with other people, people don't see that in a bad way. We're just kind of like throwing our fear into it and like keeping ourselves from actually like just putting it out there and being able to connect with someone and maybe inspire them to change a part of their life. So we'll give you guys about 5 minutes or so, if that works, and then we can kind of go around, whoever wants to share. Like I could share some of the stuff that I have. Jenna, I'm sure she'll share some of the things that she has, and then whoever wants to kind of chime in and maybe wants some help like digging deeper, we can kind of ask each other some questions and make this a super great call. So I'll shut up now. How are you guys doing? Thumbs up if you're doing well. Do you still need some more time, or should we start sharing a little? Maybe once we start sharing, you get some ideas coming in, because your vibe attracts your tribe. So I'm sure a lot of these things are common themes among all of us. So Jenna, would you like to share first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I don't mind sharing. I'm just putting all my pens away over here. Stick those over to the side. So of course I did mine in color. But these are struggles I've faced like before Beachbody, during, and now, with whether it's related to my health and fitness or my business. So number one was the struggle of feeling stuck in my corporate career and having that lack of fulfillment and wondering like what else could I do type of thing. So that can really allow me to connect with other women in that same situation now. Losing a parent is another struggle that I integrate into my story. Adopting, a positive mindset and really that glass half full mentality. It's always been a struggle for me. It's still a struggle some days. So that's something I'm very transparent about. Emotional eating. I'm addicted to sweets. I don't talk about that enough, but it's a struggle I do have. Balance. So in the past, I always struggled with the thought of like, how would I balance my social life with my health, or my career with living a healthy, balanced life. Another struggle is having like a fear of not belonging and being distrusting of people because of the bullying I went through when I was younger. So I always am like very sensitive to certain situations and I take things personally, but it relates back to that. And that's a struggle I try to overcome.
Wait, can I stop you right there? So on that
Yeah.
one specifically, how can you like dig a little deeper and create like posts from that story?
So in that situation, I think number one, I can be a little bit more transparent about the fact that I do still struggle with trust issues when it comes to like fitting in with groups of people. But at the same time, Beachbody and this team has really given me that sense of community and has allowed me to bring down my walls when it comes to connecting with other people and really building friendships with other women, which was always a struggle of mine. So I think that embracing and talking about the community a little bit more is one way that I can do that.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've done like live videos in the past about like bullying and how you kind of dealt with that. But is there a way for you to talk about that maybe more, or share, or get people to engage with you on that topic?
Yeah, I definitely do. I've been an advocate against bullying, but I could do more, I think, in sharing my story and also seeing who else has struggled with it and how that affects them still in their adult life.
Yeah. And how can you tie that in? I'm like totally putting you on the spot, girl. I hope you don't mind. But how can you
get ready, everyone?
Yeah, how can you turn that like theme and tie in other themes like about maybe like the emotional eating, about struggling with your health and fitness goals, about having accountability and that community and support into an invite?
That's a good question. I would say for me, more so, it would be an invite into the community. So for me, that started really when my wall started being brought down. It really started with the health and fitness side of things. So I was very independent in my workouts and I loved that independence, but Beachbody really kind of forced me to open up a little bit in the community of the challenge group. So that's probably where I would invite someone to first, not like immediately to the coaching opportunity, because I think that a challenge group can help them to break down their walls a little bit more so initially. But I'm open to suggestions. Do you have anything?
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, just touching upon like the fact that you're on a call with a bunch of girls and Nathan, of course. But like, creating those friendships with people that you might have not met otherwise, because if you're still like kind of fearful of, opening up to people and being vulnerable and kind of sharing your heart with strangers, especially like through social media, because it's not an easy thing to do. What we do, like, you guys, it takes balls to do what we do. So I want you guys to really like pat yourselves on the back for this, because this is not an easy job at all. But sharing how like knowing that you have a whole group of women and men too that like support you no matter what, that have your back, regardless of whether they live 5 miles away or 5,000 miles away. Like if you need someone to talk to, you have that, like having that connection, that instant connection, just because of the fact that, yeah, we all decided to just work on ourselves and better ourselves from the inside out. And it started with our fitness journeys. But what a beautiful thing that it, branched out to all these other things that's possible through this opportunity. Like that, like, someone who's struggling with trying to fit in, if they see a post like that, they're gonna be like, wow, that's incredible. Like, she wanted to get, fit and like, she made all these awesome friends because of it, and she has a business at home. Like, that's awesome. So yeah, like I said, just kind of get creative and dig a little deeper and break it down. So anybody else want to go? Unless you have anything else to share, feel free.
You can pass it along to someone else.
Okay. Anybody?
I can go, Paulina.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so let's see. I guess one of my biggest ones is like comparing myself to other people, and kind of like I even find myself doing this today. And that was one thing that really stood out to me at Summit, is when they were talking about just taking people off that pedestal, because it makes it seem like you can't be up there as well. And that's something that I struggle with big time, is getting caught up in the fact of what other people are doing and not focusing in on me, and kind of letting that kind of get to me and kind of shut me down.
Yeah. Well, sorry, let me just chime in really fast. So that is a great example, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that look up to you and say, wow, she's so fit. She's an instructor. She does all these like boot camps. She's an online fitness coach, and they can't see themselves where you're at either. So bringing up that point of like, stop comparing yourself to me. I need to stop comparing myself to other people, because it's my own journey. I need to own it and not look around to see what everyone else is doing. Like, that's a powerful post too. And saying like, it's not about what I'm doing. Like, I want to help you become your best self, like bring out the best in you, and not have to struggle with those insecurities of, oh, my butt is too big, or, oh, I have cellulite, or this or that. Because everybody has that shit, like, it's not like, oh my God, like you can have, if what you see out there in the media and what they portray, it's all like photoshopped and fake and not real. So we have to kind of like shed light on that, and like share like, we're real people. We have flaws, but we're just working on ourselves. And some days are easier than others, because you feel great, like you wake up and you feel awesome, and there's some days you wake up and you're bloated and you feel like shit. But whatever, like, this is your journey, own it. And I want you to be part of it with me, because I know that you can be, living up to your greatest potential, whatever that looks like for you. Same thing with success. We can't define success for other people. We have to define it for ourselves and ask people like what it is that they see that, or they would feel successful doing, or what it means to them. Because, success to me is something else to you, or you, like, So I can't judge you being successful or unsuccessful, because everyone has their own definition of it. Okay, go.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think one of the other ones I put down was sitting on the sidelines, being unengaged, because that was a lot of my childhood. As I kind of just sat back, and like I literally remember thinking to myself, oh, if I just make it to 18 years old, everything will just fall into place. Like, I'll lose weight, I'll feel good, I'll feel confident. And then I was 18 and I was miserable. And then my parents went through an awful divorce, and I realized I had a lot to catch up on. So I kind of felt like when I look back at those memories, I feel like I was looking through the binoculars of my own life. Like I was just literally sitting by, watching things go by and being an observer, and not engaged, because I was so afraid of being like not accepted for who I was.
Yeah.
I think that's like a big one that I need to like kind of figure out how to dig deeper into.
Well, how can you share like how you've come along in that like struggle to where you're at now? Do you still feel like you're sitting on the sidelines? Or, I feel like you're like owning your shit. Like you have full control of your life. Like, where you want to go. You're putting in the work. So just like what shifted, like you turn 18, like a lot of people are waiting for that perfect day, for Monday to start, for, when, they're paid their debt or whatever, like, oh, when they find a boyfriend or a girlfriend that they're going to be happier or feel more fulfilled or have like a sense of purpose, or they're going to graduate college and everything's going to fall together.
Yeah.
Reality check. That's only in movies. Like that's not life. So where's like a turning point in your life that you could share, or maybe like dig deeper in that point, like shifted, like your mindset shifted. Maybe you started seeing things differently. You kind of like realize, okay, like it's not going to get any different if I'm not making any changes. Like what can I do to get to where I want to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that turning point, and I was talking to a friend about this, was definitely my parents getting divorced very suddenly when I was 18, right before I moved to college. And that was just like that big awakening of like, hey, like you need to, like there's a lot of things going on here that you're not even realizing are happening, and you need to start actually going out there and doing something instead of waiting and waiting for somebody to come save you. And that's a lot about my fitness journey as well, is just kind of waiting for someone to believe in me because I didn't believe in myself. But it never happened until I decided I needed to do this for me.
Yeah. And that's something like that you provide for your challengers too. Like you provide them that support, you provide that belief in them. And maybe that's something you need to also like share more with them. Like, I'm here to help you, but if you don't want it bad enough, like if you don't make that decision, like it doesn't matter. Like it's all up to you. And I know exactly how you feel because I was in your shoes. Like, I watched my coach for X amount of time, but it wasn't until the day that I finally decided that I was going to get off my butt and do something about it and, buy that challenge pack or whatever. That's when things changed for me because I made a decision. And I know you made a post about this too, which was really awesome. So you guys should go check it out. But she made a decision, like, what the only thing that's stopping you is just freaking deciding to do it and going to do it, right? Like taking that action. So sharing like little parts of like how you take action every day to create your dreams, to make your goals happen, to make an impact on people's lives, to help them through their journeys and everything. And yeah, okay. Anything else?
I was just going to say real quick too, I think it's important that you do sort of bring up that turning point in your life. So, how that divorce impacted you, because I know so many people have gone through their parents getting a divorce and it affects people in so many different ways, and you just may be able to connect with someone on a deeper level by sharing that. And I know sometimes people get a little nervous of sharing like personal family type stuff, but there is a way that you can share in a way that's not going to offend. And maybe it's even as simple as having a conversation with someone before you post. Like I talk about my parents' divorce, and how like my mom struggled. She had to go back to work. She had to basically figure out how to restart her life after staying home with us for like 20 something years. But I was like, I'm just going to make sure she's okay with this before I post it.
Right.
And she was. So there's ways that we can share without offending, but we're doing our audience a disservice if we don't share like those major turning points in our life, because that's where someone's going to really connect with you.
Yeah. And also with that, like taking what you kind of experienced through your childhood and through that divorce and how much of a difficult time it was for you personally, like how does that affect your current relationship? Like, you know what I mean? Like how you treat your relationship with Zach, like maybe some fears that you have or things that like you won't kind of like compromise on, like, setting that standard because you don't want to end up in an unhappy marriage or feeling unfulfilled or whatever. Like you guys are on the same path, you're on the same page, and that's why you work so hard to communicate and try to like work together to create and set up your life, because that the other side of it, like it's sad and ugly and whatever it could be. Like she said, like always like, be careful what you say, because if your parents are on social media, sometimes it is tricky to like not feel like you're calling someone out or like do something or like putting someone out there. But there's ways to say, like she said, like it's so common that there's so many people who struggle with this too, whether it be like their parents separated or got divorced when they were very little, or it happened when they were older and they're like, what the heck is going on? Like, these are my parents, they're supposed to be together forever. Things like that, and maybe ways of like how you were able to cope with that situation, or even asking for help. Like people love giving their input, and I don't think we do this enough, like asking your friends, because they're your community, to engage with you. Like the whole purpose of it is not just to get a like, it's to get a comment, get a conversation going on something that people can relate to and share and maybe give feedback on. Awesome. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? I feel like this is like a therapy session, but I love it.
Go.
Yeah, go for it.
So first of all, I have to say, Jenna, me and you are literally made to be because everything, like, I know we already know this, but everything you read, I'm like, that's on my list. That's on my list. I think like two things you mentioned weren't on my list. But one of my big things, and I'm so terrible about sharing this stuff. And I don't really know why. I think I'm like a little bit nervous to talk about some things publicly, but I think one of my biggest things is that I left high school a year early. So I was kind of like hanging out with the wrong crowd, hanging out with a lot of older people. And by the time I was going to be a senior, I was like, I don't have any friends. Like, it was literally that. Like, I was just like, I don't feel like I have like a clique. Like, how am I supposed to go to prom? How am I supposed to have like a senior year? So I left high school and finished at a college. And my parents, so like, I don't know where they were, but they were like, sure, go ahead. Like, didn't even hold me back. And looking back at it now, like, I just feel like I never really found my tribe. Like, I never had that clique of girls. You know, I never went through stuff that normal, like, teenagers should go through. Like, your senior year of high school, that's such a big thing. So for me, coaching, like, this community, that has totally replaced that. And I feel like I don't talk about that enough. Like, I'm super FOMO. And this has, like, you know, I just feel like I found my tribe and this community, like the sisterhood, where I feel like I probably would have had that if I stayed in high school. So I feel like that's a huge thing for me that I don't really ever talk about.
Can I ask you why though? Like, are you worried that people would judge you because you didn't finish your high school like in a normal, like typical way, or like what is it that's holding you back from just sharing that?
Yeah, I think like, I'm embarrassed to admit that I literally left school a year early because I didn't have friends in my grade. Like, I think, like, because I think about it, and I've started to, like, sort of plant some seeds and start kind of bringing it up, but because I'm realizing now, like, the importance of getting vulnerable and sharing things like this. But yeah, it's not so much about people judging me because, like, I felt pretty cool, you know, going to college early and stuff, but I think, yeah, it's just like embarrassing to be like, I felt like I had no friends, so I just like took the easy way out. But in sharing it, I had like a total stranger who was like, oh my God, the same thing happened to me. And I was like, what? Like, people do this? So it's definitely something I need to tie in my story because it's so important to why I've stayed in this for so long and why, like, I have to be in this community because I, you know, love that support system and everyone who's just like me that I get to, you know, work with all the time. So,
well, that's exactly how you should share it. What you just said. It doesn't have to be complicated, guys. Like, just simply share. Like, talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the easier it gets to share about it. You know, like, there's a lot of things that I've shared in the past, or like even in the beginning of when I started this 5 years ago, that I would have died. I would have cringed at the thought of even talking about it to my friends. And now I openly share it on Facebook and social media, like for everybody, the whole world. Whoever wants to see it can see it. And you just have to get over that fear. What's the worst that can happen if you talk about it? You make some new friends. More people reach out to you because they were in similar situations or something, you know, something happened in their life experience that they felt that they didn't belong, that they didn't have friends, that they had no one to talk to or turn to, you know? Like, there's no negative thing that could happen from you guys just talking about these stories. So
and to kind of help you maybe feel a little bit better about the situation, Michaela, I know I've shared this a little bit on social media, but when I moved to Colorado, I mean, I made a huge mistake and like wired some money and I lost over $1,000, totally my fault, and showed up in Colorado with no place to live. And it was incredibly the most embarrassing moment of my life because I felt like a complete failure. This was the first time I was moving out and trying to do things on my own, and I completely fell on my face. And it was completely embarrassing. And when I shared that and I went live about it, I had probably a good handful of people reach out and say, thank you so much for sharing this, like private messaged me out of nowhere. So like, people will come from the woodworks when you start sharing stuff like that, promise you. And like, even though I haven't been through your exact situation, I can relate to like not having that tribe in high school and feeling really like left out. So I think people can like definitely relate to different parts of that.
Yeah. And it's also important to remember too is if these little nuggets that make us sick that we don't want to share that's going to make the biggest impact. And at the end of the day, individually, we're not here to appeal to everyone. Like, we need to be authentic to our story so that, Michaela, you do find those people who can relate to that, because your like vibe and your energy is just going to be so much stronger, and they're going to be so much more inspired by what you have been able to do since that point in your life, and then go from like feeling so like on your own to like a part of something so incredible. So maybe you're not meant to speak to everyone who, you know, did things by the book, who graduated high school like in 4 years, who went to a 4-year college right after. Like, maybe that's not the person who you're speaking to. So I think it's okay to embrace that side of your story and be comfortable sharing it, and getting over that self-limiting belief that there's something that people may judge you for it, or that, you know, people may judge you, I guess. So
yeah.
I think that that's powerful, and that plays really well with the community side of Beachbody as well.
Yeah. And also, like, even something simple as a post of like how many people are still friends with the people they went to high school with. So I could bet you like 80% will say probably not, or they have very few friends from high school that they still keep in touch with. And I'm not saying there's something like, you know, wrong with high school, or like your friends were shitty or whatever, but you lose touch because, you know, when you're in elementary school, high school, you're pretty much around the same crowd, right? Because it's like same kids in your neighborhood, unless you go to like some kind of specialized school, you're kind of forced to be friends, right? You don't really have access, especially back in the day when there was no social media and stuff. You don't have access to like pick your friends, right? But you went to college and you graduated, and now you're in nursing school, and now you're doing this, and like you've been able to select the people that you want to surround yourself with. Like, that's powerful. And not everyone does it. Not everyone even realizes like the negative people that they surround themselves with, like that's hurting them, and that they need to kind of like realize, like, do I really want to be friends with people? Do I really get along with them? Do I really share the same values? Do I have the same vision for my life and my future as these people do? So that's like a whole nother book you could even open and like start sharing about and start asking questions to people, and, you know, talking about that subject, because you choose to be here. You choose to surround yourself with us and be part of this tribe and create a community of your coaches and your challengers to be part of something bigger than themselves too, right? So I think that's a pretty cool topic to talk about. So anything else?
Totally simplified it. Like, yeah, no, it makes so much sense. And it is like, you're right. It's as simple as just starting to share it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, eat that frog, girl. Get over it and start talking about it. So anybody else want to take the hot seat?
Karina, do you want to go? You're next on my screen.
Yeah, you're next on my screen too.
You're muted though, so you have to unmute.
Oh, that's why you can hear me. I was like, yeah, I'll go next. I figured. I just want to say this is really helpful, because hearing everyone else's struggles makes me realize, like, wow, I have the same struggle, but I never thought of sharing it because maybe it happened so long ago. Like, my parents also divorced at 18, and I didn't have a traditional, like, I graduated high school and I went to just a community college, and I just have an associate's, and that's all I went to. I just didn't finish school where my friends and everybody else did the traditional bachelor's and all that stuff. So those are pretty good points. I guess for myself, I wanted to share, I think my biggest thing is emotional eating, overeating, and still struggling with that, but not sharing it that I do. So it's funny because, like, it's been a year that I've been doing Beachbody, but like I still stuff my face every weekend with Chinese food, like confession 101 right now. So like, but I don't share that. So it's like, I only feel like I have to share like when I'm being healthy and not really eating stuff that this is my guilty pleasure, basically. I guess probably feeling maybe not like judged, because I don't feel like I really care, but I guess to like hold that image, like, you know, you shouldn't be still doing that if you should be portion control. Like, does that make sense? So I feel like that's been one of my biggest struggles. So I don't know how I would go about like maybe posting more about it, or like just sharing when I do have those moments, or I don't know.
I want to ask you this. So do you feel like someone who does struggle with emotional eating would be comfortable approaching you if all they see is just you kicking ass and your healthy meal prep? You know, like if that's such a deep struggle of yours, and that's, you know, something a lot of women struggle with.
Yeah.
And if you're open with that and showing people like, hey, I still struggle with this. This is something I'm working on every single day, but you can make progress. You can move forward. And this is how I'm doing it. But again, the community comes back in. Like, even if you're a little more open about that in the challenge group, then that may help you with the emotional eating side of things. And if you can bring other women into that community and allow them to be open when they struggle with something similar, then that's going to benefit, you know, everyone. So I think that a lot of people who struggle with emotional eating feel like they couldn't possibly do what we do because they've tried and they've failed and they've failed and they've failed. And you may feel like you're failing because you're eating Chinese food on the weekend, but look at how much you've accomplished, you know? So someone who struggles with that will see that in you. Like, yes, you still struggle, but you're still moving forward.
That's so true. And it's funny that you say that because like I've been noticing my coworkers making comments like, by the way, I have to actually, when I started my journey, my whole office, we all are on this health kick together and stuff since I started, but they'll make comments to me. So we all make our lunch and I'm pretty good. Like I eat through my plan Monday through Friday, but then when weekend comes, I'm a little like, oh, okay, a little over the portions and stuff. So my coworkers will make comments like when they're ordering out or something, they'll be like, oh no, they'll ask me, but then I'll be like, no, I'm all set 'cause I happen to have my food. And they'll be like, oh, you're so good. And I'm just like, yeah, because you don't know what I'm about to eat on the weekend. You know what I mean? So I like think of those things like, so to them, they just think like I'm like perfect all the time. Even though I tell them, I'm like, I eat like what I like, I don't know, like what I want. And I think also having that pressure, like that judgment of people are like, you're not eating by your diet plan or whatever. And it's almost like, it's just like a defensive, like I eat what I freaking want. Okay. If I want to eat this, I'm going to eat this. If I want to eat this, I'm going to eat this. So I guess it's like being vocal about it so people just don't think like that's all I'm doing, because if not, I'd be like this.
Sharing those like little moments where people make comments like that. Like I remember in the past sharing about one of my coworkers, I brought my Shakeology to work every day for lunch, and they'd always be like, oh, Jenna's having her shake again. Like, here comes the shake girl. Like,
yep.
I'm not like giving you shit for eating out at pizza every single day for lunch, but okay. So I remember sharing about those comments. And the same can be true for you. Like, people think that maybe you're perfect all the time, and you can share like, you know, I try to be good during the week so that I can indulge a little bit more on the weekend. I'm not perfect. So there's so many different angles that you can take, but always share in a way that's showing your progress, because people want to see you moving forward, but you struggle. That's normal for everyone.
Yeah, that's true. And I do feel like I always make that clear on behind the scenes and messaging with my clients and stuff, because like, I'm like, you can do this. Trust me. Like, again, I'm not perfect all the time. I mean, I make sure more often, Monday through Friday, more often that I'm doing better than before. But it's not 100%, but it can still be done. Like, I'm still working on it. I'm still getting results and it's still getting progress. So I guess that's my big message, but yeah, that's true.
Well, just to piggyback off what Jenna said, because I agree with everything she mentioned, but also in the same respect, if you're only having those conversations behind the scenes, then all the people that you're not having conversations with yet, they might not reach out to you because of that, because they think like, oh, I'm perfect. Oh, like I can't cheat. I can't, enjoy my tacos or my pizza or whatever it might be. Like, it's okay to share that. Like, we're not perfect, because we're humans. Nobody's perfect. And you don't expect anyone to be either. Like, I always tell my challengers when they're like, oh, like, can I have like this or that? I'm like, listen, like, the closer you follow the plan, the better your results will be.
Yeah.
But if you want to, have like some balance and do like 80-20 or whatever you want to follow, then that's up to you. Like, I can't force you to eat vegetables all day. Like, you know what I mean? You have to have those conversations, and you have to kind of share those posts, like, that you are still going through this journey, because it's a journey, but at the same token, it's a lifestyle change that you made, that you're going to be healthier more often, then you're going to be unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure your eating habits are way better than they were a couple years ago. And you could talk about that even though you still struggle with emotional eating, you still have times where you're tempted, or you feel kind of like guilty or, ashamed when your coworkers make comments like that, because that's a lot of reasons why people don't get started on their journeys, because they don't have the support from their friends or their family members or their spouses or their coworkers. And they're like worried about like, oh, well, if I go to work and everybody's eating donuts and I'm, there with a salad, like people are going to judge me, or people are going to be like, oh, you're stupid for, being on a diet or whatever. Like you're going to fail at this. And like all those feelings and those fears and emotions come into play. And this is a way for you to kind of like disarm those emotions and say like, it's okay. It's normal. You're going to feel like a failure sometimes because you're not 100%, but you just have to like wake up the next day and be like, okay, like I'm not going to keep doing the cycle. Like I'm going to be focused on my nutrition, even if it's Monday through Friday. And on the weekend, I allow myself to do, my thing, because whatever, like it won't be sustainable if you tell someone who struggles with emotional eating to eat healthy 7 days a week and never have any cheat meals, because that's not going to work. That's not sustainable, right?
Exactly.
So
that's where I feel like allowing myself to do that is what allows me to be like really good, like perfect through Monday through Friday and still get results. Yeah.
You have the results to show that it works.
Yeah.
Even though like you do fall off the wagon sometimes, or whatever you want to call it, however you want to like say, like it's 80-20, whatever. Like that's how I usually talk about like 80-20. I love pizza and tacos. Like talk about it, like because
you share that a lot, and I'm like
exactly. But I still have girls coming to me for help because they know that like I'm gonna be real with them, and I'm not perfect either. Like it's it's normal, but also digging a little deeper and figuring out, okay, what's causing those emotional eating habits and those behaviors? Like, what is it stemming from? Maybe I can do some PD or find some kind of self-help type of book or podcast or whatever that can kind of maybe help me deal with emotions that I don't feel like I'm being controlled by that.
Yeah.
Because if you're in control, then that's good. But there's a lot of people that are out of control with it. Like they can't stop the emotional eating. They don't know like where it's coming from, how to deal with it or whatever. So if you kind of have that knowledge under your belt, then you could talk to your challengers about it. You can share if someone's struggling, or if another example is if you're just like showing them the perfect coach, the perfect you, then if they fail because they eat bad or whatever, they might kind of fall off completely and be like, oh, well, I failed her. Like I can't post in a challenge group because I missed 5 workouts this week or whatever it might be. Then they might fall off completely because like they don't feel like they're a part of it. They don't feel like, they've followed through with it. So sharing those times like that, like you're not perfect, like you fail, you make mistakes, maybe you overindulge sometimes, but then you're back on it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it's important to know that your philosophy on emotional eating could differ from someone else's, and that's okay, because maybe you're not trying to attract someone who struggles with emotional eating and has to be perfect, or you know what I mean. So like be true to you and your story and what works for you, and you're going to bring girls into your tribe who agree with that philosophy, who like to have that balance, of like getting to your goals and then like maintaining and having that like 80-20 balance. Some people can do that, some people can't. So I think that we're not necessarily like the experts in certain areas, but we share what works for us in our journey. And I think that that's what makes each coach so different. And that's what allows each coach to be so successful, because they're all different. Like when we put all these struggles together, it makes us unique from one another, even though there are some similarities that may cross over. So it's okay to be you and share what works for you.
Definitely.
Yeah, and also like I said, we have common themes. Like we've all been through different things, and that's even a post in itself. Like, wow, like I got on this awesome team call with my girls this week, or my tribe, whatever, and I had no idea that they were struggling with the same stuff. Like they have gone through the same life experience as me, that they, been through this or that. Like it's mind blowing that so many of us are scared to just open up and be vulnerable and share the hardships we've been through life, when there's so many other people who have gone through it too and need that help and they need that support, and just know that they're not alone in this. So that'd be pretty cool. I know, Nathan, you said your microphone doesn't work, but if you want to put something in the chat about any like struggles or stuff that came up for you, balance. Okay, always striving to make progress, but having the endurance and strength to withstand the opposition. So balance in what sense? Like in your health and fitness journey, or balance in life, or balance in everything? Because I'll tell you now, there's no such thing as real balance. Yeah. So I think society like makes us think that we're all supposed to have our shit together when we become adults. That's fucking bullshit. Nobody has their shit together. Nobody knows. Everyone's doing life for the first time. So we all kind of have to like just like give ourselves that grace and realize, okay, nobody's perfect. Nobody has their shit together, and we're all just trying to do our best. And we actually are trying to do our best. Like we're trying to be healthier. We're trying to be, you know, stronger with our mindsets. We're trying to surround ourselves with positive people. So sharing little things like that, like what are you doing? What action steps are you taking to kind of own that and work on things? And it's okay to cut things out too. Like we have to learn to say no to certain things too. We can't just like always say yes to maybe hanging out with the wrong type of friends because we feel like we have to be loyal to them because we've been friends for years, or even hang around family members. Sometimes, like, you know, your family can be negative and they might have a good effect on you. And we have to be able to set those boundaries and set those standards for ourselves so that way we can get to where we want to be, you know? And I know that could be hard and we kind of like feel like we're letting someone down or letting ourselves or whatever down. And that's something I struggled. Like I've always been a people pleaser my whole life. Always. Especially with my parents, especially with my family. Like I was a little angel, like I was a little quiet, shy girl, and like I studied hard and like was a little nerd and like never did anything bad. And, you know, like I had to get over that I couldn't just do things for other people to make other people happy. I had to figure out what is it that I want? Like what makes me happy? Like what gives me a sense of purpose? What makes me feel fulfilled? Because if I keep living my life for other people, I'm going to be miserable forever. I'm going to wake up when I'm 40 and be like, what the fuck? Like I got my master's degree to make my parents proud and make them feel like, you know, I did them right and like, you know, whatever. That their sacrifice of leaving their country was worth it, right? Because I have a degree. You know, at the end of the day, that shit doesn't matter. Yeah, like that's one of my things, like being a people pleaser, quitting my master's program because it wasn't for me. And I had to accept that. I had to, you know, cry about it and like face my dad and tell him that and feel like a total disappointment. But you know what? Like he got over it. I got over it. I'm fine, you know? But if I would have stayed in that path just because I felt like I needed to do it, or someone told me I had to get a master's, or, you know, I, you know, had job security because I have whatever, that wouldn't have made me happy inside and out. Like I would have been stuck. I would have been in a worse place than I am now. So even though it would have been like a failure or like, it looked like a short-term failure, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, I don't regret it at all. I would have regretted if I went through it, busted my ass for 2 years to get a degree that I'm not going to use, spent, you know, 40 grand or whatever it was for the program to have a piece of paper to say I did it. For who? Not for me. So sometimes it's hard to like admit those things and share those things, but there's a lot of people that are doing it just because they think that it's the right way to go or the right path to take, or because, you know, mom and dad will be proud or whatever. And, you know, whatever it might be, even this, like being a business owner and we're all young and we're trying to do something outside the box, not the regular like 9 to 5 type of path, that's hard for people to accept because they're not used to it. Like, you know, like we make people feel insecure because we're doing something that's different, but we have to just accept that and show other people that it's okay to do something different. It's okay to have another path and create your own path, whatever it might be, whatever it looks like to you, whatever is going to make you happy. As long as obviously like, we're not hurting anyone intentionally or doing something malicious or doing something illegal, obviously. But none of us are doing that, so we should kind of own up to it and take pride in what we do and share it from our hearts. And we all know we have each other's back, so it's not like, you know, someone's gonna hit you with stones or whatever, like shame you or, you know, exile you for being different. Sorry, I like went on a tangent there. But was there anything?
I want to ask you, do you think that you share about that enough? And
no, not at all. Did you even know that about me?
No.
Yeah.
I can't remember hearing that. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I think that you can definitely talk about, because so many people relate to that. I can even relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also important to connect that with where you see yourself going in this business and what you ultimately want out of this, and not being afraid to admit that long-term, like where you want to be, where you see yourself, whether it's working entirely for yourself or whatever that may be. I think that would allow you to connect with other women exactly at that point in their life where they're like, maybe this is my opportunity to do something different at this point in my life. Like, I'm not tied down yet, don't have kids, maybe I'm in a relationship, but I still have that freedom to maybe change my direction.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know. I definitely need to share about that more. I definitely need to connect with other people who feel that same way, who might have decided to take a different path and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, so they're trying to figure out who can I connect with that can help me or figure it out with me or whatever it might be. But yeah, like I definitely need to talk about that and share little stories that, even being like a teacher's pet, like that's a people pleaser, like quality, like little things like that a lot of people could relate to. Or like I was the good sister, like my sister was like not the bad one, she wasn't bad, but you know what I mean, like I like did everything by the rules and by the book and whatever. So I definitely need to talk about that.
Absolutely, because that translates into everything that you do from that point forward and into your adult life, and I can definitely relate to that as well. But I feel like that's just a common theme. We don't share these points of our story enough, and you may have thought, like, I don't have a story, I don't know what to share about today. So hopefully we all can keep these struggle webs somewhere and we can refer back to them if we're like, what the heck do I post about? Like, how can I add value? This should trigger some thoughts for you guys. And I always like to say that life is never going to be free of challenges. Like, we're always going to have an obstacle in our way that we have to like bulldoze through. And it's the people who, it all depends on how you're going to approach that obstacle, right? For us as coaches, it's so great because we get to face that obstacle head on and figure out the silver lining. Like, how is this going to impact my life in a positive way? How am I going to use this experience that I'm really struggling with to make an impact on someone else's life? And I think that that is so powerful about this coaching opportunity, and we can't hold back these struggles and these things that we feel embarrassed about, because there are so many other people out there in this world that there are definitely people who can relate to that. Whether you finish high school early or you stop going to get your MBA or whatever it is, we have to just be unapologetic in sharing who we are. And when we do that, people we connect with are literally our twins. And it's really freaky, but it's really awesome. And you have so much more fun in this business when you bring in clients and coaches who just get you,
Yeah. Amen, girl. Preach it. Preach it. Look at you becoming the preacher. And also, just to kind of like end up and wrap up from there, whatever you put out there, like however vulnerable you get and just like share away, people can't like use that against you anymore. Like we're worried that, oh my God, if somebody knows this about me, knows the truth or knows this or that, like that they have something against you, right? Like that they could use that information like to hurt you or make you feel a certain way. But that's not true. Like just own up to it, share about it, and connect with other people about it and get them to engage with you, because like I said, we're not alone in any of these struggles. Like we have so many common themes. And something that I learned going to Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, like I was surrounded by like 10,000 people, and he said, like, if you ever felt like you weren't good enough, raise your hand. Every single person raise their hand. If you ever felt like you weren't loved or weren't like enough and you couldn't, receive love, like raise your hand. Everybody raise their hand. Like it all boils down to these common like themes and insecurities and fears that we all have. And like it just depends on how we allow them to fester and grow, or how we kind of stop them and combat them with all these other things that we do, like with personal development and developing stronger mindsets and surrounding ourselves with the right people, that determines like where you go from that, what actions you take or what actions you don't take because you're scared of that, you know, putting that out there or sharing about it or whatever it might be. So I encourage you guys to just, you know, get strong, get courageous, be brave, be vulnerable, talk about it, and I promise it won't kill you.
Yes, and I just want to remind everyone, I don't know if you posted about this in your team page yet, but I know I did an event for my team on the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a special call for those of you who can make it. We're calling it our social media showdown. So we're kind of like, and it's going to be at 8:30 p.m. and it's going to be an hour. And we're going to have our struggle webs handy and just listen to a call that's going to add so much value in helping you create your narrative on social media. And as you're listening to this call with us, we want you to really like think about your struggle web and how you can use that to also craft your narrative and really work on strengthening that, because that's where you're going to build connections. That's where you're going to get lifelong clients from that. So if you guys can make it on the 15th, we know it's like totally different than what we usually do. We really thought it was important to get this in kind of close to this call. So join us for that.
Yeah, so unless someone has like a question or comment, we'll wrap this thing up because we've been on for a little over an hour, and I'm so happy that everybody like shared and was super vulnerable, and I hope it was as valuable to you as it was to me. So let's just take a really quick pic, because you know, if you don't have a picture, it didn't happen, right? So I want huge smiles. I want to tell you guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys have any questions or if you need help developing your stories, like Jenna said, we're gonna have our call next week. But if you just like want someone to like help you talk about it or like figure out like how to word it, I'm kind of good at that. So I'll like, you know, I'll brag on myself a little bit. So if you need help, just talk to me, and I'll be sure to help you guys out, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other out and just like lift each other up. So have a great night, everybody, and I look forward to reading all of your awesome social media posts. And if you do post something and like you're kind of nervous or scared about it or whatever, like just put it out there and we'll all go love and comment on it. So don't feel like you're going to be like abandoned and like, you know. So
we got your back. Don't worry.
Exactly. We do. All right. So go kick some butt and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.